We have covered a number of utilities that display and manipulate text files in this course, but up to this point, we haven't discussed why this is so important. You probably don't use text files that much in other operating systems, and you might be wondering why we have spent so much time on them. In this video and the next one, we will see why they are so important. We haven't discussed this yet, but all the commands we have run in the command line use three different files that are always open: standard in, standard out, and standard error. These aren't actual files on the file system. They are only conceptual files. The contents of the files, though, are used for the shell to function. Let's run a command and get some context. Standard out contains all the normal output from a program. In our example, standard out was used to display the contents of the directory /root. Standard in was used to send information to a program. Here, standard in was used to send the password I entered to sudo for authentication. When I try to list the contents of the /root directory without permission, an error is displayed. This was sent through standard error. The secret is that all three can be redirected. If you want to send standard out to a file so you can look at the contents later, you can do it. If you want to get all the input for a program from a file instead of typing it in manually, you can do that too. We will start with a simple example. Since there are too many files in etc to see all at once, we can send the directory listing to a file for later reading. The greater than symbol is used to redirect standard out to a file. Think of it as pointing from the command to the file. We can see that the content of the file is exactly the same as the normal content from the command. The formatting has changed, but the content is the same. It is just in a file. Sometimes we want to send output to a file, but the file already exists. If we redirect output to it, it will overwrite what is already there. Notice that the listing of files in the etc directory is gone, and only the listing of files in temp are in the file. If we want to append to a file, we use two greater than signs like this. The listings for both the directories are now in the file. Most commands that accept a file name as an argument also accept input from standard in. The head command is a good example. Here, we use the less than symbol to redirect standard in from a file. Think of it as pointing from the file to the command. Both of these commands have the same output, but their execution is different. In the first case, the head utility opened the file etc password and displayed the first 10 lines of the file. In the second case, the shell took the entire contents of the etc password file and sent them to the head utility through standard in. The head utility displayed the first 10 lines and then quit. This may not seem useful at the moment, but you will see how powerful this is once you start programming more complex tasks. For some commands, there can be so many error messages that it is difficult to see the normal output. For example, let's search the entire file system for the file sample.txt. Notice that we don't have permission to search a number of directories. In fact, there are so many error messages it is challenging to see if the file was ever found. We can redirect the errors to a file using to and the greater than symbol. We can now see that the file was found in its full path. If we look at the file errors.txt, we see all the errors that were generated. However, I really don't want to look at the errors. What I really want to do is ignore them. In Linux, there is a file called dev_null that acts like a black hole. We can send whatever we want there, and Linux throws it away. Using it looks like this. Notice that dev_null is still empty. Now that you know how to redirect each one individually, we can try redirecting more than one of these at a time. Since redirecting standard out and standard error in the same command is common, we will use that for our examples. First, let's redirect both standard out and standard error to the same file. To do this, we use an ampersand and then the greater than symbol, like this. Note that everything is in the file, the normal output and the errors. We could also write the command like this. This redirects standard out to the file all.txt and then redirects standard error to the same location as standard out. If we wanted to send the output to different files, we could use this command. Notice that only the standard output is in the file. All the errors were sent to dev_null. In the next video, we will take this concept of redirection to the next level. Ensure you understand what is happening in each of the cases shown in this video before you move on to the next one.